Ethan Hayes clutched his duffel bag with trembling hands as the hover transport descended through the hazy blue atmosphere of Velmara Prime, the craft's engines humming a low, steady pulse that resonated in his bones. Outside the windows, the crystalline skyline glimmered like a field of diamonds caught in perpetual moonlight, though it was still midday under the pale radiance of three small suns. Ethan tried to steady his breathing, anticipating that in mere moments, he would step foot on an alien world that sparkled with living architecture, governed by psionic aristocrats whose technology bordered on magic. At least from an Earthling's humble perspective. The transport's AI voice, resonant yet oddly soothing, announced their approach to the Zenith District. This lofty realm housed only the most distinguished of Velmara nobility, their mansions perched atop platforms of obsidian that hovered at improbable heights. The name alone, Zenith District, hinted at a place so close to the heavens that even the grand spires below looked like mere toy structures. As the transport drew nearer, Ethan glimpsed twisting crystalline edifices, each mansion radiating iridescent colors that shifted with the time of day, or perhaps in response to the subtle psionic energies permeating the air. The landing pad, a vast platform of polished black stone, rose from a cluster of towers like a fortress gate. When the transport touched down, Ethan felt a strange vibration ripple through his body, a faint tingling along his spine. He stepped onto the surface, still gripping his bag, the slick obsidian almost too smooth beneath his boots. Silhouetted against the glimmering towers was a small gathering of figures, tall and lithe, short and broad-shouldered, representing the various forms of Velmaran life. Ethan's heart pounded as he activated his neural translator, a device that hummed quietly behind his ear. It would scan and interpret nearby languages, feeding them into his auditory cortex. He felt relief knowing he would not have to stumble through alien phrases or risk embarrassing misunderstandings. He stood for a moment, glancing at his reflection in the polished hull of the transport, an Earthling man, somewhat broad-shouldered, with short, tousled brown hair and dark circles under his eyes. His gaze betraying a weariness from many hours spent in starports and cramped spacecraft. He quickly searched for his new landlady, Soraya Vexus. He did not know much about her, except that she belonged to an aristocratic Velmaran family and had agreed to rent him a portion of her estate. The glimpses of Velmaran nobility he had gleaned from Earth-based data streams suggested her kind might be quite regal. His musings were confirmed when one figure approached with poised steps, tall and graceful, clad in garments that shimmered as though spun from opalescent threads. Her emerald skin shone with a metallic brilliance, delicately adorned with whorled markings that rippled and glowed as she moved. She bore an aura of authority tempered by curiosity, and her hair, if it could be called hair, floated about her head in gentle waves, defying normal gravity. "Ethan Hayes," she said, her voice carrying a soft, musical timbre that the translator rendered into near-perfect English. "I am Soraya Vexus. Welcome to Velmara Prime, and to my home. I trust your journey was not too uncomfortable." Ethan swallowed, nodding a bit too vigorously. "Yes, it was fine," he managed, then paused, uncertain if he should offer a handshake. Instead, he bowed his head awkwardly, unsure of proper etiquette. A hint of amusement flickered in her eyes. "We shall learn each other's customs soon enough. Come, follow me. I will guide you to the estate." With a slight gesture, she summoned a gliding walkway that extended from the platform. Its smooth tiles reassembled in midair, directing them toward the mansion's entrance. As they proceeded, the walls and architecture around her seemed to shift, forming corridors at the silent urging of her mind. The scene was an uncanny illustration of Velmaran psionic mastery, their society built around thought-responsive materials. Ethan felt a pang of envy, recalling that humans on Earth still relied on clunky mechanical devices to accomplish half as much. They entered a grand atrium, where vaulted ceilings soared, dotted with living crystals that pulsed like distant stars. Walls shimmered in fluid arcs, shifting in hue as Soraya moved. She paused to indicate a corridor that sloped and curved at her command, steps materializing in midair just in time for them to climb. "This is the main entrance," Soraya explained, her voice echoing against the crystalline surfaces. "The estate is psionically key to me, though I have granted access in certain areas for you as well. Fear not, the architecture will shift so you can navigate. However," she added, arching an elegant brow, "be aware the estate sometimes reveals a whimsical streak." Ethan nodded, his heart thudding. "Thank you," he said, forcing a smile. "I appreciate the hospitality. This is all incredible." He felt uncertain how to articulate his awe. The swirling corridors and self-assembling staircases seemed taken from some futuristic fairy tale. Soraya's lips curved in a small smile. "I am pleased you find it so. Your reactions intrigue me. We know little of humans beyond what our data streams show. Your reliance on mechanical technology, your need for protective gear in certain environments, your vulnerabilities. This will be an enlightening experience for both of us. They ascended a staircase that formed with each step, eventually arriving at a chamber, by Velmaran standards, perhaps modest. Its walls glowed softly, the colors subdued, presumably to accommodate Earthling sensibilities. A bed, appearing to be molded from liquid crystal, stood along one wall, near a window that displayed the shimmering cityscape. You may rest here, Soraya offered, her emerald skin brightening a shade. I asked the estate to maintain a consistent atmosphere. Humans need stable conditions, I understand. He set his duffel bag down. Yes, we do. Thank you, he said quietly. She lingered a moment, studying him, as though memorizing each detail of his posture. Her fascination made him blush, but he also felt oddly flattered. If you require anything, speak aloud, she added. The estate's lesser intelligence will attempt to fulfill your request. Alternatively, you may call for me directly, if you wish. I do hope you will dine with me tonight. I have many questions regarding human biology, especially regarding daily habits, nutritional needs, and other items. Ethan sensed the subtle intensity in her gaze. Of course. I'd be honored, he replied, though the swirl of patterns on the wall seemed to reflect the flutter in his own chest. That evening, Ethan ventured into the dining hall, a process aided by the estate's shifting corridors, which extended and retracted in front of him, leading him deeper into Soraya's domain. It felt as though the mansion gently guided his path, ensuring he would not be lost in its labyrinth of living crystal. Eventually, he stepped into a spacious chamber adorned with a long table cut from sapphire-like stone, glowing softly from within, reminiscent of starlight captured in a gem. Soraya was already seated, looking regal in filmy garments that highlighted the swirling markings on her arms. Various dishes, each more alien than the last, were arranged on the table. Fruits emitting faint luminescence, elaborate pastries with layered petals, and decanters of swirling liquid graced the spread. The room carried a subtle floral scent, hints of which Ethan could not identify but found strangely pleasant. Please sit, she said warmly, indicating a seat that formed beneath him as he approached. I've requested food safe for human consumption, though some might taste unusual. Let me know if you encounter any discomfort. He picked up a small slice of translucent fruit. Its tangy flavor was reminiscent of citrus, though there was an underlying sweetness that made his tongue tingle. He nodded appreciatively. It's good, he commented. Thank you for arranging all this. I'm sure it's not easy, hosting a human. Her eyes sparkled. I find it no burden. I am fascinated by you and what you represent. Tell me, she said, leaning in slightly, how do you manage your daily routines, lacking psionic abilities to manipulate your environment? He almost laughed at the earnestness in her voice. Tools. Technology. On Earth, we build machines for nearly everything. Our bodies are fragile, so we rely on external aids. It's how we adapted over the centuries. Soraya tilted her head, appearing intrigued. I see. Psionic self-reliance has its advantages, but I suppose your technological creativity might rival our mental prowess in certain respects. She sipped from a crystal goblet. Do you find it limiting, being so vulnerable to simple phenomena like solar radiation or changes in atmospheric pressure? Ethan shifted uneasily, swirling his own drink. We adapt. Some humans have developed incredible engineering feats, orbital platforms, deep-sea facilities. Our fragility, as you call it, pushed us to innovate. In a way, the very limitations of our bodies fueled our progress. She considered his words, her expression thoughtful. So your scientific endeavors arise from necessity. Perhaps that explains why your technology is robust, though it lacks the finesse of psionics. Fascinating. They shared a silence, comforted by the subdued glow of the table. Soraya continued her curious questioning, and Ethan explained how humans used medical science, how they slept in controlled environments, and why modesty customs existed in human cultures. She seemed especially intrigued by the idea of privacy, a concept that apparently diverged from Velmaran norms. Though they did have personal space, physical modesty was not as emphasized among psionic societies, who placed greater importance on shielding one's mind. Their conversation continued late into the night, an interplay of questions and revelations. Ethan found himself enchanted by Soraya's melodic voice, the graceful tilt of her head, the ever-shifting glow of her markings. He realized he was enjoying more than just a new living arrangement. He was drawn to a person who challenged everything he knew, a woman whose curiosity sparked something inside him. Over the next several days, Ethan settled into a routine. Each morning, he would travel to the city's technology sector, where he served as an engineering consultant, bridging Earth-based designs with Velmer and psionic constructs. His afternoons were spent in collaborative research with local scientists, who marveled at how humans had refined nuclear fusion, warp drives, and quantum computing despite lacking mental powers. To them, the notion of building elaborate devices, rather than simply summoning energy with thought, was a peculiar novelty. But as captivating as his daily work was, Ethan always felt a sense of relief when he returned to Soraya's estate. The living corridors recognized him now, rearranging themselves with gentle humor, guiding him past shimmering fountains and glowing gardens. Sometimes he found Soraya awaiting him in the atrium, wearing an expectant smile that made his pulse flutter. Other times she would be immersed in deep psionic meditation, her floating hair glowing as though she communed with the living architecture. He learned that she was not just his landlady, but a scientist with a strong interest in xenobiology. She studied the nuances of human physiology with almost alarming zeal, peppering him with questions at every opportunity. It became a nightly ritual. He would come home, and over dinner, she would interrogate him about Earth cultures and human customs, with a particular focus on the physical. She wanted to know about vitamins, muscle structure, how humans reproduced, and why they had so many fragile bones. A week into his stay came the incident that would both horrify and amuse him for days to follow, the infamous shower mishap. It happened late one evening, after a particularly grueling shift in the lab. Ethan had trudged back to the estate, sweaty and exhausted, longing for a simple rinse. The bathing chamber was a marvel of psionic engineering. Upon command, waterfalls streamed from midair, and steam gathered in luminescent clouds. Eager for relief, he stripped and stepped under the warm cascade, letting the water soothe his aching muscles. He had just begun to relax, eyes closed, when he sensed a presence behind him. Whirling around, he nearly slipped on the wet floor. There stood Soraya, observing him openly with unabashed fascination. Her gaze lingered in places that made him wish for a towel that, unfortunately, was nowhere in sight. "Soraya," he yelped, fumbling to cover himself. What are you doing?" She blinked, her expression puzzled. "Observing," she answered. "We Velmerans use psionic streams to cleanse. I wish to see how humans do it. You employ water and, presumably, some chemical agents for cleanliness." His cheeks reddened. "Yes, but we usually do this in private. It's not something we share casually." Her brows knitted together, as though struggling to grasp the concept. "Privacy again," she murmured. Then her gaze wandered, studying his bare form. With an air of academic awe, she declared, "Your earthly serpent is astonishing. I've read data on human anatomy, but to witness it up close is remarkable." Ethan nearly tripped, mortification flooding him. "Soraya, please, this is a private moment, and please give me space." Her eyes lit with a hint of contrition. "Apologies, Ethan Hayes. I meant no disrespect. I will depart immediately." She left as swiftly as she had appeared, leaving him to shiver under the water, torn between embarrassment and reluctant amusement. Later that evening, she offered a formal apology, explaining that Velmerans did not share the same concept of physical modesty, especially in the context of scientific study. Though mildly irritated, Ethan acknowledged her sincerity. He even realized that, from her perspective, she had truly been curious, ignorant of any breach of etiquette. In the days that followed, their interactions blossomed with a new kind of tension, an awareness that went beyond mere curiosity. They still talked about technology, xenobiology, and psionic fields, but their conversations carried a subdued crackle of electricity. He would catch her gaze lingering on him, not with the clinical detachment of a researcher, but something warmer, more personal. In turn, he found himself wanting to learn more about her upbringing, her aspirations, what she truly thought of human emotions. In the lab, Ethan struggled with a major project that aimed to fuse psionic energy with mechanical systems. The Velmerans relied on mental projections to shape matter, but they lacked the raw industrial processes that Earth engineers had perfected. The ultimate goal was to merge these fields, psionic constructs stabilized by Earth technology. Yet the prototypes kept failing catastrophically, either overloading due to unbalanced mental inputs or shorting out when confronted with Earth-engineered constraints. One evening, he returned to the estate with frustration tightening his chest. Soraya, sensing his mood, offered him a seat in a quiet lounge, its translucent walls giving a panoramic view of Velmara Prime's glittering skyline. She sat close beside him, her aura radiating calm. You are troubled, she observed gently, her luminous eyes studying his face. Your expression, your posture, both reflect distress. He exhaled wearily, running a hand through his hair. I am troubled. We keep trying to blend psionic energies with our conventional hardware, and it keeps failing. We can't maintain a stable current because the emotional output from the psionic user fluctuates. And even if we stabilize it, a single surge of strong emotion disrupts everything. Her expression grew pensive. That is precisely the nature of psionics. Will, emotion, intention, these elements shape our power. It is fluid, not rigid. Perhaps you must factor that fluidity into your designs. He chuckled, a hint of despair in his voice. It's not that simple. Our blueprints demand consistency. If a machine can be thrown off by emotion, it's deemed impractical. That's how engineers see it. But maybe there's another angle. She placed a slender hand over his. Sometimes, to harness the intangible, you must embrace the unpredictable. Can you find a way to let emotional resonance guide the machine, rather than fight it? He gave her a sideways look. I don't know, but I'm willing to try. They stayed there, side by side, long into the evening, brainstorming ways to incorporate emotional equilibrium into mechanical schematics, something that sounded nearly mystical to an Earth-trained engineer. Yet, as they hashed out possibilities, Ethan felt a spark of hope. He also felt increasingly aware of her presence, her emerald skin faintly shimmering, the rise and fall of her breath. When their hands brushed, a wave of warmth passed between them, so palpable that he paused mid-sentence. She, too, looked momentarily startled, as though she felt the same electric jolt. Curious, she murmured, softly withdrawing her hand. It seems our energies are compatible in a way that transcends mere intellectual synergy. He wasn't certain how to respond, so he ventured a small smile. Maybe that's the real breakthrough, he whispered, though he wasn't merely talking about the project. Weeks drifted by in a kaleidoscope of successes and failures. Under Soraya's guidance, Ethan and the Velmaran scientists built a new prototype, a smaller, more refined psionic converter that required emotional balance from the user. Calm, focused mental states generated a clean, steady flow of energy. Turbulent thoughts produced erratic power surges that threatened to fry the device. The project hovered on a razor's edge, but progress was undeniable. For the first time, psionic energies and Earth-engineered machinery functioned in partial harmony. During this period, Ethan's bond with Soraya deepened, fed by intellectual admiration and a quiet undercurrent of attraction. She confided in him about her origins, her wealthy lineage, her mother's position on the Council of Elders, an aristocratic body that governed with psionic authority. Soraya admitted she had always felt constrained by those traditions, seeking an outlet through the study of off-world species. Learning about human physiology was part of that quest, but she never expected to feel so entangled with one particular human. Inevitably, word of their closeness spread. Whispers circulated, rumors that Soraya was conducting more than research on her Earthling guest. Some staff members in the estate glanced at Ethan sideways. Though polite, they revealed subtle disapproval in their mannerisms. It was rumored that the council frowned upon such entanglements, labeling them an unwise mixing of species. Soraya, however, seemed not to care, or more accurately, she defied those norms with steady resolve. One night, the estate's lesser intelligence guided them both to a private garden beneath a grand dome of polished crystal. Bioluminescent plants swayed in soft currents of air, their petals opening like tiny galaxies. Faint psionic chimes echoed from hidden corners of the garden. In this twilight paradise, Ethan and Soraya walked side by side, shoulders occasionally brushing, until they paused near a bed of glowing lilies. He plucked one petal, an impulsive gesture reminiscent of earthly courtship, and offered it to her. Soraya blinked in mild confusion. A flower petal, given as a token, she observed, studying it. Is this your custom? He hesitated. We usually give an entire flower, not just a petal, he admitted, smiling self-consciously. But it's a gesture of affection. She twirled the petal between her slender fingers. Affection. Yes, I recall your mention of such things. And this gesture implies that you care for me. Her tone was measured, but he detected a trace of vulnerability beneath the poise. I do, he said, voice soft. We've come to share so much, not just data, but feelings. At least I have. If that's inappropriate, I'm sorry. She lifted her luminous gaze, her hair drifting in a gentle swirl. Inappropriate. perhaps by the strictest standards. But new pathways often are. I find myself similarly drawn to you, Ethan Hayes. Your earthly traits, your perseverance, even your fragility. I want to know more of you, in every sense. His heart hammered. They stood so close that her breath mingled with his. Slowly, as though drawn by an unseen force, he leaned in. Their lips met, a delicate touch that sparked a wash of warmth throughout his body. He felt the faintest psionic current pass through him, as though the estate itself were acknowledging their union. Soraya trembled slightly, her eyes drifting shut. They broke apart, 1,000 unspoken thoughts hanging in the air. She pressed the glowing petal into his palm. "This is important," she whispered. "But we may face opposition. My family, the council, they will not easily accept such a connection. Be prepared for that." His breath caught. "I'm ready," he said, lacing his fingers through hers, marveling at the new sense of completion coursing through him. Not long afterward, the Council of Elders summoned Soraya to appear and explain disturbing reports about her experimental entanglement with a human. Rumors had reached Lady Iscara Vexis, Soraya's formidable mother, who commanded significant influence. At the same time, news of Ethan's psionic fusion breakthroughs spread among Velmarin research circles, stirring both excitement and alarm. Eventually, the Council demanded a demonstration of this synergy, partly to verify its legitimacy, partly to assess whether it posed a danger to their civilization. Soraya and Ethan arrived at the Council Spire, a colossal structure carved from prismatic stone, towering above the city's highest platforms. The building pulsed with faint energy, shaped by the combined focus of powerful psionic minds. Upon entering the circular council chamber, they found 12 elders seated on floating platforms arranged in a semicircle, each wearing ornate robes that displayed shifting sigils, symbols of house, lineage, and specialized gifts. Lady Iscara sat near the center. Her emerald complexion, darker than Soraya's, bore swirling patterns of authority. A hush fell as she addressed her daughter. "Soraya Vexis, you stand before the council to account for your unauthorized experiments and your personal liaisons." Her voice was chilly, each syllable resonating like a distant thunderclap. "You consort with an Earthling, and rumors speak of a powerful energy surge. Explain yourself." Soraya dipped her head respectfully. "Mother, esteemed elders, I have indeed grown close to Ethan Hayes. He is more than a tenant. He is a collaborator, helping us integrate Earth-based technology with psionic constructs. We have made significant progress. Our device, though still experimental, harnesses emotions, human emotions, and channels them into a stable psionic current. This could bring immense benefits to our society." Murmurs rippled through the elders. One, with ruby-red skin, leaned forward. "You speak of synergy, but we have only rumor. Show us proof." With the council's assent, Ethan carried in a small prototype coil, fitted with Earth-engineered circuitry on one side and psionic responsive material on the other. Under normal conditions, the device remained inert. But Soraya placed her fingertips upon it, focusing her mind. At the same time, Ethan activated the mechanical side of the interface, summoning the calm resolve he had learned to channel from her. Slowly, a hum resonated through the device, arcs of light swirling in a stable pattern. Curiosity shone in the council's eyes. Then, suddenly, an elder who opposed the demonstration projected a burst of dissonance, trying to overload the device. Instantly, the coil sputtered, teetering on the edge of catastrophic failure. Alarmed, Ethan grasped Soraya's hand, visualizing the warmth and unity he felt in her presence. He poured that calm sentiment into his role, seeking to counterbalance the turmoil. Their combined focus stabilized the coil, restoring its gentle hum. A bright glow illuminated the chamber, a testament to their shared control. Gasps and uneasy whispers filled the air. Even Lady Iscara's imperious demeanor flickered with surprise. The demonstration had been meant to show synergy, but it surpassed expectation. The coil's power radiated outward, sending a faint shockwave through the entire spire. Lights flickered, and sensors across the city registered a brief surge. When the coil finally subsided, the council sat in stunned silence. Soraya broke the hush. "Honored elders, this is no mere curiosity. The fusion of human emotional resonance and Velmarin psionics can unlock new frontiers. We stand on the threshold of a significant breakthrough. After a tense pause, Lady Iscara spoke, her voice laced with reluctant awe. Daughter, you tread a precarious path, risking both your reputation and the stability of our society. Yet, I cannot deny the evidence before me. Another elder, porcelain-skinned and draped in pearlescent robes, cleared their throat. We must consider the implications carefully. If this synergy can be harnessed for good, it must be studied. However, the council also hears rumors that your bond extends beyond research. Soraya lifted her chin. It does. Ethan and I share a personal connection. We are not merely colleagues. I will not hide it. Several elders exchanged glances, uncertain how to respond. Lady Iscara narrowed her eyes. Then know that such unions are frowned upon, though we cannot forbid them outright if there is proven benefit to the greater good. The Council's role is to preserve Velmara Prime, not stifle its evolution. A rustle of assent spread through the others. Slowly, Lady Iscara addressed Ethan. Human, if your intentions are genuine, show that you respect our ways. If you can prove that your bond with my daughter is more than fleeting indulgence, perhaps it may stand. But be warned, you have ventured onto uncertain ground. Ethan met her gaze steadily. I do respect your ways, he said, and my feelings for Soraya are real. We both believe this synergy is about more than technology. The tension in the chamber eased slightly. The council, swayed by the demonstration, granted them cautious permission to continue their research. Though not an outright endorsement of their personal relationship, it was a step that allowed them to proceed openly without fear of immediate repercussion. Lady Iscara finally waved a hand, signaling the end of the session, her expression unreadable as Soraya and Ethan turned to leave. Outside, on the landing terrace, they gazed at each other with a mixture of relief and lingering anxiety. The council had not forbade them from further cooperation, yet had offered no warm acceptance either. Still, it was progress. Mother is difficult, Soraya said softly. But she, too, cannot refute the truth she witnessed. Ethan nodded, feeling a swell of gratitude for her courage. I'm just thankful they didn't arrest me on the spot. A gentle laugh escaped her lips. That was a possibility, but you survived. They shared a quiet moment of mutual admiration. Then, hand in hand, they descended to the obsidian platform, eager to return home. In the weeks that followed, the Synergy project attracted widespread attention. Scientists from across Velmara Prime sought to witness and analyze this phenomenon, an unprecedented fusion of human emotional resonance and psionic constructs. Some welcomed Ethan warmly, believing he heralded a new era of cooperation. Others were less enthusiastic, deriding him as a dangerous oddity. Through it all, Soraya remained at his side, guiding and supporting him. Their closeness matured. Over dinners, they no longer spoke of experiments alone. They shared personal histories, intimate confessions, laughter over cultural missteps. The estate, as though sensing the shift, grew gentler in its reconfigurations, hallways opening smoothly for Ethan, an unspoken acceptance of his place. Soraya noted this with a smile. The mansion approves, she teased one night, leaning on his shoulder. Or so it would seem. As breakthroughs in the lab multiplied, an offer came from an exploratory commission, a post on a quantum-powered research vessel, the Ethon's Quest, which was preparing to chart unknown sectors of the galaxy. The expedition sought new life forms, new technologies. Soraya and Ethan, with their singular understanding, were prime candidates. The opportunity stirred excitement, but also concern. Leaving Velmara Prime meant stepping away from Soraya's aristocratic obligations. Yet, she felt a yearning for unbounded discovery, free from the watchful eyes of tradition. When they announced their decision to depart, Lady Iscara voiced neither approval nor opposition. The council had seen enough to grant them recognition as a working partnership, at least in the realm of research. Soraya's family, albeit grudgingly, could not deny her success. With formalities settled, Soraya and Ethan stood on the launch platform of the Ethon's Quest, watching as final preparations were made. Crates of specialized equipment hovered aboard, guided by psionic lifts. Holographic displays flickered with star maps, designating a route that led beyond charted space. Ethan turned to Soraya, heart pounding at the threshold of this new chapter. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked quietly. Leaving your estate, your home, it's a lot. She caught his gaze, eyes reflecting the brilliance of Velmara's shimmering towers. Ethan Hayes, she replied, voice calm, yet resonant with feeling. My home is wherever our shared journey takes us. There is so much left to discover, not just about psionics or technology, but about ourselves. Let us see what lies in the great unknown. They clasped hands, stepping up the ramp together. From within the starship, a hum of blended energy, part mechanical, part psionic, reverberated. It was the culmination of their work, a testament to the synergy they had forged, both professional and personal. As the ramp sealed behind them, Ethan glimpsed Velmara Prime through the viewscreen one last time, its crystalline skyline gleaming under multiple suns, a world both majestic and surreal. Engines roared in a crescendo of quantum flux, lifting the vessel from its berth. The city shrank away, and the star-spangled void stretched out ahead. In that moment, Ethan felt Soraya's psionic presence envelop him like a gentle embrace. He squeezed her hand in return, silently acknowledging the bond that made them partners in every sense of the word. Their hearts brimmed with anticipation, for the realm before them was as vast as imagination itself. Through the swirling patterns of hyperspace, they would test not only new frontiers of science, but also the resilience of a bond forged across two worlds. Yet in that very uncertainty lay the promise of wonder, a chance to reshape the cosmos' perception of what could be when two beings from different worlds embraced a powerful, unifying force. Hence, they began a journey guided by love and insight, leaving behind the cautious acceptance of Velmara Prime for the endless canvas of the stars. And they did so with the conviction that, just as energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but only transformed, the bond they shared would persist, evolving into forms they could scarcely envision, a testament to the astonishing power of both heart and mind. Together, they soared into the cosmic unknown, hand in hand, ready to claim whatever destiny awaited them beyond the far horizon, secure in the knowledge that the synergy they had discovered was not a mere accident, but a shining new chapter for them, and perhaps for all who dared to dream beyond the boundaries of the familiar.